10, 9.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this April 29th, 2019 evening. And we had a big weekend in bodybuilding, Chris, at the Bigman Pro out in Spain, right?
Yeah.
Great one.
Yeah, remember the olden days?
I wish I was there.
I was just going to say, the olden days, pre-wives and pre-children would be there for like a week.
Exactly. You would be there for a week. I'd probably be there for 4 days.
I know.
You would have missed a flight. You probably would have gotten stuck going to some gym or something like that the 18 days before the show, and a month later you'd be home. But look, the outcome was great. I mean, it was a real battle, and I think Josh Lenartowicz, winning this event really solidified himself as the guy we've been talking about all year on the comeback, right? I mean, it took him a while to nail it, but he finally brought the goods.
But he looked good.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good look for him. I mean, he didn't beat, Brandon Curry, but he beat, a really good Akim Williams.
He's thick.
Josh has to come in. We talk about this all the time back in the old days with Dennis Wolf. He needs the fullness, but he needs the conditioning. Yeah. And he has trouble sometimes balancing those two.
True.
What do you think he weighed on stage?
Probably 250, 262.
Yeah, and he was. What was he bragging about?
He's listening to the show, so Josh, you can email me if you're not 100% 262, but I guarantee you we're 262.
No, I would say the same thing because wasn't he like 280 like at the Arnold or something like that earlier this year?
Yeah, he was.
Which we knew was going to be too big. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great look. And I thought Akim Williams looked good, so I thought it was a good battle.
Well, it's hard to know where you're looking at pictures. I see like
someone sent me a link to a video.
I don't see any good pictures.
No, someone sent me a link to a video. It's like someone had an iPhone
and
posted video of all of them, not together even, just posing individually. So I was just looking at conditioning basically, and Akim looked conditioned to me. Josh just looked a lot bigger structurally. Goes back to that whole
got a bigger structure. Yeah.
Steve
Akim is the illusion because he's not as structurally wacky as you think, but he's big as hell, and he's got a small waist when he's in really good shape. So, but still structurally, he's not as I hate that word structurally. He's just not as wide, naturally, or quote big. I guess that would be wide as Josh. He looked great though.
Right, but Akim's got a small waist, so proportionally he looks big. So when you see him standing alone, I think that's what bamboozles a lot of people. And you see Akim standing alone, and you see the pictures and the video of him posing, you're like, this guy's got to win the show, right? Because
100%.
Proportion wise, he's amazing, and he's got the round muscle bellies, and he really finally has nailed his conditioning pretty well. And then you see him standing next to a Kuklo, or you see him standing next to a Josh, and he doesn't look that big. It's deceiving. Once again, bodybuilding is a show of comparison. Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's 100%.
How many guys do we know that that you would look at them when they walked out in the lineup? We'd watch the Arnold or something like that, and we'd be like, he comes out and like, oh, this guy's gonna win. He's amazing. Yeah. And then you see him stand in the lineup, and we're like, what the fuck happened to this guy? I don't even remember seeing him in the lineup.
Yeah. You're only as good as Michael Jackson used to say. You're only as good as your last album, and in bodybuilding, you're only as good as the person you're standing next to.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. Unfortunately. I don't even know what to say for Akim. I feel bad for him, but I believe that he has enough points probably now, I would imagine, to qualify for the Olympia.
Yeah, he's got to have, and he should clearly go. Period.
Right? I mean,
to the Olympia. I mean, because he's
worthy.
Akim is a type of body at the Olympia. If he comes in at his all-time best, and he's ridiculously impressive when he's at his all-time best. And people are a little bit off. You know, the Olympia is about freaks. It really still is, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he could place, put it this way, he could place higher than probably he expects and higher than other people expect.
I agree. But I also think that, you know, mentally, when you don't win and you keep coming in second, which is not a bad thing, second place, by the way. I've had a lot of those. I think it starts playing with your head, like maybe I'm not good enough to win, you know, and I think Akim needs to take that out of his head, you know, and Oscar's a good person to do that because Oscar likes to, you know, reinforce positive, you know, visualization. But I think Akim has to say, you know what, I wouldn't be placing second if I'm not good. Just because I'm not winning doesn't mean that I'm not really good. It just means that maybe the judges thought this other guy was an iota better than me, you know, for whatever reason.
No, you're right.
But Akim's problem was that he couldn't nail his conditioning, and he proved consistently now that he can. So that's huge for him. That was a really big stumbling block for him. And the question is now, can he continue on? You know, should he continue on? Should he do New York Pro now, or should he say, you know what, I did enough shows. I should have enough points to go to the Olympia. Let me just shut it down now to the Olympia. What would you say to that?
If he has enough points, does he have enough points? If he has enough points,
I would imagine so, Chris. He has a lot of, you know, he. If
he has enough points, you know, you might as well. Well, you know what? The New York is 3 weeks. I would do the New York.
You would.
I was him.
Chris, 3 weeks is a long time, don't you think?
I know. But then he'd still have, but put it in context, he'd still have 17 after that to somehow try to regroup for the Olympia. If the Olympia was like another 10 out, I'd say skip it.
Right. Akim, I believe, he's right now third on the list, and I don't even know if they've added the points from this past weekend. So he's probably even higher than that. Yeah. I think he'll make it. I really do. I don't think that he's going to have a problem with getting there on points. Once again, you know, I guess New York's in his backyard. Oscar's right there. You know, they can do the whole, you know, positive reinforcement, you know, type of situation.
They could do the distilled water.
It's easy to, you know what? It's a lot easier though to compete when you don't have to travel and stay in a hotel. So that's a huge advantage. But then again, you're going to get much better competitors at New York. And if Akim doesn't place, you know, second, or let's say he places fourth or fifth, I mean, is it worth the toll it took on his body for that extra 3 weeks to get ready for it to get 1 point, you know, more, which might not even make a difference in, you know, unless he goes there and convincingly wins. I mean, if a win obviously would be knocking it out of the park and giving you tremendous momentum, but anything less than that really is not really doing anything for him, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 ways you can weigh it. I mean, it's nice to be the New York Pro winner.
It's a great title. Yeah, it's a great title.
And it's nice to be the New York Pro winner, carrying that. Not that it matters running into the Olympia, but it does matter to some degree. I mean, getting to the Olympia on points versus winning the New York Pro, maybe, I don't know. I would be inclined to say maybe the judges would look at you more, but they don't care really. They just want to see who's in shape and you know who's the best on that day. So it's a crapshoot,
right? But then also, you know, let's not forget, you know, what about the fact that his body is getting tired now? You know, you start getting that burnout going on. You know,
yeah.
I kind of question that, and I was going to ask you about that with regard to Rafael Brandao, who seems like he's done almost every show this year. Is his body getting tired? I mean, is it at this point, or you know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I think that it took him like 2.5 days to get there. He had this like flight from Brazil, whatever it takes to get to Atlanta. Flight got canceled. Leave the next night. Got canceled again. Go to Spain. So, but that just means it's a tiring trip, which would have, tire your body. But Akim had to travel too, and other people had to travel too. So I would chalk his fifth up to really probably being maybe a little tired. Third show. Who knows? I haven't actually seen pictures from the show, to give you a good assessment.
I think he looked really good here from what I saw in the video. I just think that I don't know if another 3 weeks is gonna make him look worse at the New York Pro.
He ain't doing no. He's definitely not. He's definitely done.
Raphael, you're saying?
Yeah, because he's got the long. He did what he wanted to do this year. He got the. Unfortunately, I mean, he's not the only one, but the way the Arnold is set up, he only got the invite 10 weeks out, and he's not fat in the off season, so he prepped for that for 10 weeks, which is not a long time.
I got you. So he had a lot left in the tank, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then, but I think every year, he's one of the youngest, if not the youngest.
How old is he?
25, just turned.
I didn't realize that. I always said the guy looks really young to me, but I didn't realize he was really that young.
So if you backtrack, last year he was third in a pro show. This year he had the good showing at the Arnold, then he had the good showing in Brazil. There's nothing, he knows there's nothing else to prove this year. I mean, if he went to the New York Pro and was at his all-time best of the year, he may not win. Depends on who's there and who's in shape. And even if he did win, his goal is to go to the Olympia.
Sure.
And go to the Olympia and do something, not go to the Olympia as like a wallflower.
Yeah, I mean, who would want to do that? I mean, there would be no really advantage of doing that. Now, Brandeo, I don't know if they, like I said, added the points from this past weekend. He's 5th on the list right now in points. So he's probably got another extra point on top of that, which would put him over Nathan Diasha. So he's probably 4th on the list right now. And Cedric and Luke Sando are tied for 1st and 2nd. Akim was 3rd on the list. He's probably still 3rd because I don't think he's going to go over Luke's.
And how many people go? How many in points?
Top 5 go.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot to talk about.
Yeah. So, I mean, those guys look like they're pretty much shoo-ins.
Yeah.
Although Josh just won, so that's not going to take him off the list. So I think all those guys will probably go that we mentioned. Raphael being the 5th guy on the list right now.
Maybe Raphael changed his mind and go. I don't know. It's just it's this.
The problem is once you get, like we said, if Raphael goes and he doesn't place, he only places 5th or worse. I mean, he only gets 1 more point. It's not really probably going to matter.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's that the point system kind of makes it strategic at some point. You have to start strategizing. Well, I need a point here, I need a point there. What can I do?
I remember when Farnsworth got in 1 year on points.
Yeah, he snuck in there that 1 year.
It came down to I think 2 years, but 1 year it came down to it was like bizarre. It's like okay.
No, Palumbo, I remember that 1 year you were talking about.
Palumbo, he had it down mapped. If Palumbo makes top 5, I'm screwed, and if Aceto gets 3rd. I'm screwed, but Chris can come in 4th, and then this guy, can win. He had it all the way down, and the last show of the year, it came out exactly the way it needed for him. He's crazy.
Derek is amazing because he's a guy who just defies the odds. Everyone thinks there's no way this guy is gonna do well, and he always goes above himself because he's such an anal nutcase, and I'm sure he's listening, which is, I say that in a complimentary way, to details, and the details are really what win and lose shows for you. He knows how to beat guys that are probably better than him because he out details them, and that's what bodybuilding's all about. And that's what you call the veteran tricks. When you've been around the block a few times, you know how to squeeze by people, and he takes care of all the details. He's always perfectly tanned, and presentation's great, and his conditioning is good, and so he's tough to beat because of that, and he probably supersedes any expectations that people have him because of that, and people take him for granted, and then he winds up beating them.
Speaking of, I don't know, taken advantage of, Eddie Bracamontes.
Yeah, well, I really think that he's the breakout guy of the show because, I mean, who expects him to come in here and beat Raphael, who finished in 5th? I mean, he's amazing. And you know who also is another breakout guy? James Hollingshead from
very
UK.
Good. Yeah, damn good.
3rd place.
Good.
I mean, that's fucking phenomenal. I mean.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. And he...
shredded to the bone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the pictures.
Full shredded. Looked tremendous.
Probably the hardest guy in the lineup.
So I just wanted to make the point that I work with Eddie, and I think I can't tell you how many shows that I've been to where I've always said, "Oh, you look really good. You could have placed 3 places higher. Oh, you look good. You could place 2 places higher. Oh, you look really good." And he's done good in some pro shows too. 3rd, 4th, 5th. But this was a good show for him too.
He's this guy who's quietly creeping up the rankings, if you notice.
Yeah.
He's another guy who just supersedes his own potential, I think, because he covers all the details, and he always comes in ripped.
No, you're right. So
you can't beat that. I mean, when you can't beat a guy who's got details, I mean, yeah, granted the lineup wasn't the deepest lineup, but top 5 at a pro show is fucking impressive. He was, he was right in there,
Yeah.
What's his plans? Is he shutting it down now for the year?
No, he's ramping it up. We're gonna load him up more.
Really?
And throw him in. He's doing the cow because it's in his backyard.
Oh, right. Okay, that's next
and I think that was always, his plan was the Brazil, which he got 5th in. Mm-hmm. And that's a typical show. I thought he could have been 1 or 2 places higher there. Could have been 4th or 3rd.
Well, he's got probably 6 points. He might make it into that top 5 point getters if he puts out a good showing in Cal.
Yeah, and he will. So his plan was Brazil, this show in Spain, and then the Cal. Which
I like that these guys are doing a million shows now. It reminds me of the Milos era, right?
Yeah. Did you see it? Yeah.
You have. Well, let's face it. We got Eddie. We got Raphael. We got Akim. We haven't seen guys going on a circuit like this in a long time. I mean, these guys are hitting every show. It reminds me of the old days, where the guys were not afraid to compete.
Well, what else? You know what? I always you're going to be, you're going to be doing a radio show at 53 someday, and you say I should have done those shows.
No, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't really. No, people are afraid to get out there and get on stage.
God, people are like crazy afraid to compete. It's insane. It's insane. Like people like the whole idea. Besides flat, we got to get rid of the word flat, and we got to get rid of the word shutting it down.
Shutting it down. Yeah, everyone's
shutting it down.
Everyone's shutting it down. So as we said, Eddie Breckham. First of all, let's talk about James Hollingshead for a minute because here's another guy he's another guy who you forget about, and then he shows up shredded to the bone, the most crazy shredded guy in the show, and he's tough to beat, and he winds up, I have to say that Josh and Akim were solidly first and second. You can look at the judges' scorecards and you see that. And, probably most people were looking at those two guys as the first, second place guy. But then James is really good in third, Yeah,
he's very good.
And Eddie was no slouch. So for James to put away Eddie, that came out of nowhere. We haven't seen James all year. This was his debut for the 2019 season. I'm sure we'll see him again. He's going to be dangerous. I'd be afraid to see him. I don't know if he's going to California or not, but
well, he'd be probably crazy not to do New York.
I think that he probably should do New York because you know what? You got to get away from these small shows and try to throw your hat into a place where everyone's going to notice you. And there's going to be a lot of publicity there, obviously, a lot of press coverage. If you can place top 5 in New York, obviously now you're on the list of people who are, on the short list at least of people who you got to watch out for. So I'm sure we'll probably see James there. I wouldn't be surprised. Finishing in that 6th position behind Raphael was Issa Obiad, who seems to be hanging in there too. He seems to be hitting a lot of shows and trying to get back to his old form. What do you think about the way he looks now, his structure? Is he on the right path, or is he still not the Issa Obiad we know from 5 years ago?
No, he got bigger, but as Jay Cutler would say, bigger's not always better.
It's not better, yeah.
Bigger's only bigger when it's better.
Exactly.
No, it's true. So he's grown, and
waist got a little wider, I would say.
And his waist got wider. So if your waist gets wider, it negates cannonball belts, which he's known for.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go over the other show on the pro schedule this week, which was the other Brazil show. Only this was the 212 event that was held. Also another muscle contest show. Tamer El Gunti and his brother holding this one down there, and they had a 212 event that went off. And you and I, before the show, we were talking about this. Super impressed with this Ukrainian guy who won the show. I don't know him personally. This is the first time I was exposed to him. Ole, I'm going to butcher his last name here. I'm sure I'm going to get some Ukrainian people emailing me after this saying, this is how you pronounce it. Kryevy or something like that. I think that's how it's pronounced. So we better learn to pronounce his name because this guy is damn good, huh?
Yeah, freaky. Wow. Big.
He beat a really good Ricardo Correa, who I know you worked with this year for the first time.
Yeah.
That had to be a huge... they must have been going crazy down there in Brazil, huh?
Yeah, Correa speaks Portuguese.
Yeah, you said he's from Portugal, to Correa, right?
Yeah. I think
not to be confused with Eduardo Correa. This is Ricardo Correa.
Yeah. The show was... look at the pictures of the top 5 at that show were very impressive.
Yeah.
And I think 3 of them were Brazilians. And just because they were from Brazil, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm surprised Eduardo didn't do the show.
Well, he's focusing on New York.
No, I know he is, but this is his backyard. It must have drove him crazy to have to sit there and watch the show and not be in it, because the Brazilian fans love to see the Brazilians compete.
Yeah, well, you know what? That kid's dangerous who won the damn show.
Yeah, no, very dangerous.
Round, balanced, thickness, shoulders, arms, crazy legs.
Put it this way. When I saw the pictures that you posted of Ricardo on your Instagram, I was like, well, this guy's going to be tough to beat,
Yeah.
Then to see him lose.
Yeah, I wonder what the scorecard... I wonder if it was close. Two different physiques.
It was unanimous, actually.
Yeah, no, I can see, thicker guy.
They actually gave the guy who came in third, who also I don't really know, Leonardis Cardoza from Chile, he got an actual second-place vote in there. So
yeah, he was very thick.
It was obviously a battle up there. Sometimes you think these shows are going to go, this is going to be another 212 show. This actually turned out to be a really competitive show. I don't see any U.S. guys in the lineup, but I'm sure if there was a few guys who flew out to Brazil thinking they were going to hit like a week show, they would have been very, very unpleasantly surprised to find that
there was a lot of muscle in that show.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of condition in that show.
That's what I like. That's what I like about the 212 division. I like to see these shootouts where the guys are just like peel to the fucking bone. Even if their shape is not the greatest, I just love to see like shredded muscle up there. Competing against each other, because that's what it's all about, man. Right? Getting in shape. These guys could probably have taught some of these other shows that we've seen this year. These guys a lesson, in conditioning.
Fish. Tell them dry and hard.
So what is Ricardo going to do now that he plays second here?
He is going to... He told me today that he wants to go to everything. New York, Dallas, and Toronto.
So I guess New York's first and then Dallas? New York and then Toronto?
Yeah, then Toronto, then Dallas. He wants to go to the Olympia,
Well, he probably could win one of these, I would think.
Oh, I would, he's potentially dangerous to some people at the Olympia. He was really hard here, but I think he can get even harder. He's got a good metabolism.
Ole Krivly, I think that's how you pronounce it. Krivly.
From Ukraine.
If you speak English, contact me. I'd love to interview you. I'll probably get one of his friends who's like a translator, get him on. But I like to see the new guys, come out of the woodwork. Elisa Piscini from Brazil, she won the bikini pro down there. Priscilla Leinbacher from Switzerland was second, and Lucia Malawazi from Brazil was third. So the Brazilians are really cleaned up down in Brazil. Imagine that. It's always good when your countrymen can actually win the pro shows, and the people like that. Fans love that. It seemed like that. I guess maybe it's funny that they had like a separate pro show like 2 weeks after the Arnold. You would think that they would have just worked
Was
together.
it a week after? Was it a week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
You think that Tamer would have worked with Arnold and they could have just put all the divisions together, right? They could have had an open, a 212, and a bikini.
No, because the Arnold, whoever the Arnold people are, that's what we've been hearing.
Who's the Arnold people? The Arnold people are Arnold. Right?
That's my whole point. The Arnold people said that the 212 is, a drag on the show or something.
Well, you know what? It might have.
Nobody wants to compete at it. That's what the.
In Brazil, I got news to you. When you got all Brazilians competing in the show, you're dummies for not holding it. They should have worked together and they should have held this show, all of this, and the Arnold. Because you know what? The prestige of the Arnold is great. Let Tamer run it. That's what the Arnold people should. They should be like, you know what? We don't even want to be bothered running. Tamer, you know what? You're running the Olympia this year. Why don't you just run the pro show for us?
Yeah.
It's not a money. I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's just they don't want to be bothered with it. Let Tamer run it. He obviously can do. He ran a great show this past weekend. 2 weeks after the Arnold. To have two shows that successful, 2 weeks apart, it doesn't make sense to not have them together.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Well, there was a bikini pro also at the Bigman Classic in Spain.
Who won that?
Spain. I forgot to mention that. Beatrice Biscala from Portugal won.
Mm-hmm.
Phoebe Hagen from the UK was second, and Nora Mahonen from Finland was third. So congratulations to all the big winners this past weekend. I did a little news update this past week, Chris, on Big Ramy, which is always popular. People always want to know what's going on with him because one of my guys that I talk to on a regular basis had sent me a link to a captured, I think it was an Instagram live that Dennis James had done with Big Ramy. We never see Big Ramy get interviewed ever. And for some reason, I don't know if Dennis was planning on doing it or how it came about, but Dennis, who was just on Iron Debate, which we're going to talk about in a little bit with us this past week, he did some kind of little impromptu interview. It was just talking heads, basically, him and Ramy just kind of goofing around with each other. And Ramy said that he is going to do this Tampa Pro show, which is the last pro qualifier of the year. And he was saying that he had just gotten shoulder surgery or something. I'm assuming he had arthroscopic surgery. If he still plans on competing, I would assume it was also some kind of a clean out. I would assume it sounded like it wasn't like a major surgery, but maybe he had some nagging, something going on in there. And he was saying that the doctor didn't even want him to go to the gym and work out. So what do you make of this whole thing? You think this is a legitimate thing he's got going on? And if he did get shoulder surgery, how do you think that's going to affect his prep? For this show, in Tampa. And I mean, it's a ways off, obviously.
How far is it off? It's 14 weeks.
Yeah, it's if he got arthroscopic,
it's 14 weeks minus 4 with Ramadan, so you only have 10 weeks left.
Right. When they've prepped Ramy during Ramadan, is that a problem in terms of
Wasn't for him. When I helped him, he
still trained
leaner.
And everything.
Yeah, he trained and he got leaner.
Yeah, well, he probably only ate a couple times.
But he's probably the only one who can keep his size.
He can't Ramy won't lose muscle. Everyone else, if I ever had to go through Ramadan, I would come out looking like one of these Ethiopian runners, from Africa, which is we have a story to talk about that later too.
Yeah. So what's the story that he's doing? He's
doing Tampa, which I think is we talked about this on Iron Debate. It's very risky.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because Dexter Jackson's doing Tampa, and
you got a mad Dexter Jackson.
Dexter Jackson, who didn't qualify for the Olympia last year, who has to do this Tampa show to qualify. He's pissed off. It's got to be a blow to not only his ego.
You got a mad focused Dexter Jackson.
Well, not that he doesn't need to qualify because he is Mr. Olympia. He can do it, but I think he wants another pro win. This might be his last year competing, I hear, but I don't believe it. But he says it might be his last year competing. I believe this. If he was to win Tampa, that would be win number 30, which is he's already got the record. But that would be a nice way to retire with 30 pro wins, right? Yeah. Who's going to beat that? These guys compete once a year. They'd have to compete for. Compete for 30
Dexter
years.
don't believe in shutting it down.
No, he doesn't shut it down. So, yeah, I mean, how dangerous is this for Ramy to go in there against Dexter Jackson for the last pro qualifier of the year,
With one shoulder.
With an injured shoulder, hopefully it's better by then, I've had arthroscopic surgery on my shoulder. You're probably talking about 4 weeks of not being able to train the way you need to.
Okay, so 4 weeks plus 4 weeks, I said he grew during Ramadan, that's right. Well, It's 14 weeks.
You know, it's funny when I see Ramy, like if I was being interviewed and I just had shoulder surgery and I knew I had to do the Tampa Pro, I'd be like a fucking wreck, wouldn't you? I mean, I'd be nervous. I'd be like, well, I hope I can get back. I hope I can do it, you know. Ramy looks like nothing bothers him. It's like, I get to take a couple of weeks off here. It's so nice. I'm going fishing with my family, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. You know, I mean, does he? I haven't seen picture. But does he look big? Does he look?
It's hard to tell.
Wait a minute. You called it. Wait a minute. Do you remember you sent me that video and you said something looks funny about his shoulder?
Yes, I did actually. I didn't even remember I said that because I'm losing my memory.
He was doing cable crossovers, and
yeah, I said it off the record. I didn't say it on the air. Yeah.
No, it was off the. So now it's on the air.
Yeah.
So it's now on the record.
Yeah, it's on the record.
And I didn't. No, I said I don't see anything.
Right. Remember, I said his shoulders look a little like on the smaller side compared to what they did. Yeah. That's probably what's going on. He probably was having trouble. I had, like I said, I had an impingement in my shoulder before I ever had any shoulder issues. And they went in there and they cleaned it up and they told me, oh boy, you know, we trimmed up a lot of cartilage and made space, but you're going to have arthritis later in life. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Just fucking, can I go back to the gym?
Yeah, now I'm fine. Yeah, can I train? You know, when that's a long way off. Now here you are.
Right. So now I have 2 shoulder braces. But the truth is that, you know, Ramy may feel a lot better after the shoulder surgery, but you're definitely going to have to baby it for the first 4 weeks. It's not like you can go back and start shoulder pressing, you know, 150 dumbbells after a week or two. Maybe Branch Warren would do that, but not Big Ramy. Ramy looks like he's ready to, like, you know, go on vacation, like I said, and go fishing for a few weeks. I don't know.
Well, it'll be a showdown. Dexter versus.
I think that he should really consider Ramy doing that. There's 2 shows, you know, 2 weeks before.
Don't give me any ideas. Let him. Let's see the fireworks in Tampa.
There might not be enough time to do the other ones, but I think we're going to see Ramy before Tampa. I really do. You think there's a chance that he just doesn't compete?
Yeah.
What do you think the odds of that are? You're pretty good at those things.
35-65.
I like that. That's pretty good. That's a betting. It's a betting line for sure.
No, because there's 65 meaning he competes and 35 doesn't.
What do you think dictates that if he's not ready? I mean, if he's not ready, they're not going to put him on. You think Neil Hill will put him on stage? I don't believe Neil will.
No,
I think Neil will tell him to wait.
They'll shut it down to the air.
And there's no way they're going to give Ramy a special invite to this Olympia.
Impossible.
They can't because he hasn't been competing for 20 years. You know what I mean?
No, it's not a. You know, he's
not Kai Green. It wouldn't be fair to the other competitors. Really, what it amounts to. I mean, Kai Green's a legend. You can give.
Yeah, well, we talked about that on Iron Debate this week.
Yeah. By the way, we hadn't done an Iron Debate in a while. I thought this was a really good one. You know, I know whenever I get DJ on, I know there's going to be debate because let's face it, that's what DJ likes to do. And he was good. I thought it was a good question. For those who haven't seen it, you can go see it at the RxMuscle.com website. It's will Kai Green basically compete at the 2019 Olympia if he were to receive an invite? And you know, the day before we did that interview, that Iron Debate, I had interviewed the chief officer of the Olympia, Dan Solomon, who runs the Olympia, and Dan verified with me that that Kai Green would be extended an invite if he were to ask for it. And actually, I spoke to Jim Mannion, believe it or not, the other day. Very rarely does that happen, you know, but Jim and I spoke. Every once in a while, we have our every 6-month conversation, and it was a good one. And he said, look, Dave, I would be, you know, if you want an invite, a special invite, you first have to ask for it. They don't just say, hey, by the way, can you guys please do a show? They don't care. But if Kai wanted to compete, all you'd have to do is, you know, contact Jim Mannion and say, hey, Jim, I'd like to compete in Olympia. And Jim said he would be more than happy to give him a special invite. He said, I want to see Kai Green on that stage. That's exactly what he said to me. But, you know, they don't need Kai Green. Kai Green has to ask for that special invite. So there's never an invite put out there unless the athlete asks for it first. But there's no way that they would say no to Kai. They want him on that Olympia stage. Right from the mouth and the lips of Jim Mannion that came from. So hopefully Kai, you know, does it. Do you think you've already gone on record as saying you don't think there's any way Kai's getting on that stage?
No, he's not getting on the stage. My opinion.
Yeah. Because, you know, like, I think that the key thing you pointed out, and I was even talking to Jim about this a little bit, you know, he really lost to Cedric McMillan at that Arnold Classic. If it wasn't for the posing round that they scored because Arnold wanted it scored for that show, Kai Green loses to Cedric McMillan that year.
True.
And that's, and Cedric hasn't placed top 6 at the Olympia ever. So if Cedric's beating, Kai, I maybe in Kai's mind he's thinking, well, maybe I won't win the Olympia. Maybe I won't even place top 3. Who knows?
Yeah, well, like I said on the show, you got to weigh the risk. I mean, there's a mystique that, quote, he could win. I don't think he could. I just
the thing in my mind is that
okay, or if you entertain the idea, okay, let's say he could win, but he could lose too. So there's a lot to gain, and there's a lot to lose.
I'm going to disagree. I think there's nothing to lose, and I'll tell you why Kai has nothing to lose. Kevin Levrone did the Olympia. He looked, the best he could, I guess, but he didn't look good. Obviously, we know that. And he probably became more popular for doing that show.
Yeah,
and
but
got more publicity and made more money. You know how popular Kai would be? It doesn't even matter if he places 5th.
It doesn't even matter if Kai goes to a bodybuilding show anymore.
I know, but you know what?
He's more popular than Phil
Can you imagine?
combined.
Right, but can you imagine the build-up to the Olympia with Kai, posting pictures and, little training videos and getting people. It's like when a movie's going to come out, like the Avengers Endgame came out. I didn't see it, so don't anyone tell me about it. But
I fell asleep during it today, but go ahead.
You actually went to it?
Of course, I took my.
Oh my God! I don't want to know anything about it.
I can't tell you. I told you.
Well, I don't want your kids. I don't want your son telling me anything about it either. So, the bottom line is the build up to that movie was so crazy. I mean, with all the little teasers and this and that it was mind-boggling. I mean, that's what the Olympia would be like leading up to. With Kai Green would put that Olympia on the map. It was like when Lou Ferrigno made the comeback. Lou didn't even place top 6. It didn't matter though because people just wanted to see him up on that fucking stage posing again. I wanted to see it. I was a fucking huge Lou Ferrigno fan. Louis back in the Olympia up, and you know what the great thing was? Back then they used to do the regular call-outs and then they would do the fun call-outs and they put Ferrigno,
Flavio Baccanini.
Well, those two were fun, but no, they put Ferrigno against Yates. You remember on stage? It was like Dillette, Yates, and Ferrigno in a call out.
Yeah,
what a fucking freak fest that was. The fans probably went nuts. I wasn't there because I was too young. I wasn't really into the I wasn't traveling then. I was in school, but I mean, that's what everyone wanted to see, right? Could Ferrigno beat Yates? I mean. I don't think they would do that. Today we don't have to worry about it because Kai is definitely going to be in the first call out. But that's what you want to see, right? Holy shit, Louis from 20 years ago back in the lineup. Ferrigno, arguably the guy who competed with Arnold, was competing against Dorian Yates. How could that happen, right?
Yeah, no, I mean you're right. But getting back to Kai doesn't have the. I mean, it boils down to what Kai wants to do, right? And Kai doesn't have the need for the show.
But Chris, why walk around at 300 pounds in the off season?
Because it's part of his shtick. It's part of his.
What shtick though? What shtick does he got? What is he doing?
Well, who wants to be small when you've been Mr. Olympia? It's pretty.
He's not Mr. Olympia, but
Well, I mean, you've been on the Olympia stage. What do you want him to walk around?
But he's not competing. Well, yeah,
but if he's walking around 180.
Jay Cutler's not walking around at 300 pounds anymore.
I know, but Jay's making more money. If Jay needed to walk around at 300 pounds to make money, Jay would be 301.
No, but Jay doesn't. But you don't need. Kai can be 160 pounds, and people just love to be around him.
I don't think. No,
I don't think he can mentally handle it. Dave Palumbo makes money, and he's only 185 pounds, 190 pounds.
Well,
I'm not worried about walking around at 315 anymore.
I know, but a lot of
I would make a lot more money if I was 315.
A lot of people
I'd
are very
probably be dead, but I'd make a lot more money. I'd be popular. My wife would divorce me if I was 315. But the point is that Kai doesn't have to do anything anymore. He's in demand. People just want to see him.
I know, but he's in demand because he's big and huge.
Is he though anymore? I think he's beyond that. I think he doesn't realize he's beyond that, but I think he's surpassed that. I think if he weighed 230, if he weighed 230,
around 195, people wouldn't want to go see him.
I'm not saying 195. If he walked around at 235, he would probably look better than he does now, and when he took his shirt off, he'd be just as impressive.
I know, but he'd still be in less demand.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that people just like Kai. They want to hear him go up there and pontificate about the universe, and they just want to hear him. He's a freak no matter what. Do you know how much better of a posing exhibition he could put on if he weighed 235 as opposed to 295?
I know, but he'd have no muscle to pose at 225.
No, 235, I said. He'd have plenty of muscle. He'd have plenty of muscle. And the exhibition that he would put on would be, he'd be doing Broadway shows up on stage. There's no way, I said this to him, and I think he got insulted once. There's no way he can move the way he wants to move at 290. You can't. You can't manipulate your body like that. But at 235, he'll think he weighed 100 pounds, it'll feel like to him. He'll move like the wind on stage. I want to see him do these. When he was natural, Chris, and doing the Team Universe, he did some routines up there on that stage that would blow your mind if you remember them.
Yeah, no, I used to hear about him before.
I used to think he was doing. I thought I was watching a Broadway show when I would watch him. So imagine the routines he can do if he just downsized a little bit. Not to mention that it would be better for his health. Now, if he has an intention in his mind that he's eventually going to get on stage again and compete, different story. That's why I figure he's so big.
Yeah, no, you could be right. I mean, you could be right. It
looks like at any moment he'd be ready to compete. He's 6 weeks out,
Yeah. Well, I said on the show, I said one thing about Kai. Take the guys who were top 6 in the Olympia last year, and Kai beats them all off the shows right now. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's a fact. He's bigger and harder than every single guy who came in the top 6.
You're right.
As of today.
You're right. But the bottom line is people only remember the guys who actually go and compete. They don't remember the guys who, you remember how great Kai was walking around back in 2019? No. In 10 years, no one will remember.
Yeah.
But if he gets on that Olympia stage, and if he wins, he's a legend. Even if he places top 3 or 4, people will be talking about that. It'll be notated in history books at 45 years old, Kai Green came back and blew the socks off the crowd. Yeah, he didn't win because there was some guys that were just a little better than him, but he was amazing. The performance he put on brought the house down. It was one of the most exciting Olympias of all time. That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's enough for me. Maybe it's not enough for him. I don't know. Who knows? That's bodybuilding. The excitement is you don't know if you're going to win or not.
Well, at the end of the day, the only way he's competing is if he wants to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, you will not see him.
No, you're right. You're 100%.
And it's difficult to. I think on the radio show I compared his relationship with the Olympia with the bad breakup. It's difficult to when you put everything you have into a relationship, and then you find out that relationship wasn't what you thought. It's hard to put yourself back into that relationship or any relationship. And, I think he's been on record frustrated and said some things about the Olympia, like,
Well, he didn't like the way they were treating him. But that's,
yeah, well, okay, well, there's a relationship there.
But now there's new people in place. Dan Solomon is a solid guy.
But it wasn't the competitors who were, who was treating him bad?
It was the people running the show.
Yeah.
Well, now you got different people running it. I mean, you still have AMI is still underwriting the whole thing, but Dan Solomon is in there. Dan is
I heard Dan just sold AMI and got 10% off that.
I'll tell you one thing. Dan brought in that Wings of Strength sponsorship to them. That was a huge change for the Olympia. That's a lot of money coming in there, and I think they're going to be able to use that money to really, make some cool changes from what I understand. And if you want to listen to the interview I did with Dan Solomon, that's also up on RxMuscle.com. That was a tremendous interview. I asked Dan really hard questions too. I didn't hold back anything on him. I asked him everything that people were thinking about, everything regarding the Olympia, Kai, Wings of Strength, and he answered all the questions. And that's a good politician for you. That's a good guy who you want in charge of your Mr. Olympia contest, a guy who can field all questions. And I think he's going to do a phenomenal job there. And I told him that. I said, Dan, you know what? I think you're the right guy for the job. You've been grooming. You've been sucking money off of Steve Blackman for the last 10 years. grooming yourself for eventually taking over the Olympia. If you could suck that much out of Blackman, you can get it out of other sponsors to bring in, sponsorship for the Olympia. So that's what else I'm looking at.
Oh, I told you I cleaned. Did I tell you I cleaned my office? I dug up an email from 2005 to Victor Martinez. I sent it to you.
Yeah, you did. That was pretty funny. You had his diet on there.
Isn't that funny? It's sitting around in somewhere in like files.
What did I say to you?
Bob Gruskin.
What did I say to you?
You said something about you loved the simplicity of it.
The simplicity was so perfect because it was just like Victor's best conditioning. Look at this diet. It was like there was nothing complicated about it. There was no high molecular carbohydrates in there. There were no insulin loading. It was just like a basic diet, and that made Victor look his best. And that's what it's all about. It's about simplicity. It's not about complexity. When you're doing a program, I have some of these guys who I work with will send me the program that they were on with their last coach. The complexity is so great that I don't think I could even execute it myself if I ever had to follow it. There's so many details about what you have to do here and there, and before you take a shit, you got to fucking snort a line of pre-workout. There's so many details. I'm like, this guys, anything this complicated is not right. I said, there's no way. They're making it complicated because they want you to believe that there's something special that they're having you do that no one else is doing. And I think what happens is people do these programs and they realize, you know what? Everything Dave is saying right now is 100% right. Why am I involved in this? It's ridiculous. And so it is what it is. I just love that diet. It was just, the basic.
I dug up the diet, the one-page diet that I either emailed or faxed to Victor, and then I found your father's book.
Yeah, were you going through old crates or something like that?
Yeah, I was. It's insane. I moved my office from one room to another room. And I have so much. I went through 32 bags of stuff I had to throw out. Trash bags.
That's good. Do you feel like you've been unburdened?
Oh, my new office is so spanking organized and clean.
So
let's see how long.
Why did you move the office? Are you making a new baby room or something?
No, I moved the office because I had hardwood floors, and I was when you watch these home shows and they go, hey, I wonder what's under the first floor of my house used to be a doctor's office.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
It used to be a brain surgeon's office. That's why I feel so...
Out of his house he used to do it?
Yeah. He used to meet clients. He'd do the surgery in the hospital.
Right.
And on the first floor, he had his practice and he did brain surgery. So I tell my kids, I'm smarter than a brain surgeon because I own this house. The previous owner was a brain surgeon. And the upstairs is where he lives. So we live on the upstairs in the first floor.
Right.
His offices, and he had carpeting. So one day, because I was inspired by these TV shows where they rip up, and they go, oh, look at all those beautiful hardwood floors. So one day, without telling my wife, I said, I'd take an X-Acto knife and ripped it. I took a look, and there were these beautiful hardwood floors underneath, and I started ripping the carpet up and rolling it up and ripping. And then I get to the part where it got glue. Ugh. And
I was going to say, Chris, that's probably the most you've ever effort you've put into your house of all time, right?
It gets worse. So I'm ripping. And then I get to a portion where there's plywood. I'm like, holy shit. So we run out of the hardwood.
Right.
So I've waited 5 years to find someone who can match up the hardwood that's 110 years old.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I found this guy, this Asian guy. That's all he does. And he bought new hardwood to match the 100-year-old hardwood and stained it all, so now it looks great, except my office has the carpet, so I had to move my office into another room where the hardwood's been done. So
are you going to move back now into the office or no?
Well, I'm liking this smaller room too, so maybe I'll stay here.
I got you. All right. Well, as long as we're talking about your house and everything going on in Maine, I gotta play this. Chris always
go to the tape. You want to
tape? Chris always sends me these messages from his tenants, and The one guy, Phil.
No, I get. Listen, one person. This
You've sent me more than one person, but this guy is the blockbuster of all of them. You know, right?
Oh yeah, no, he's the best. I told you to.
This is the guy who with the bed bugs. I always make the impression that
Come on, you Chris, you fucking bastard, you with the bed bugs biting my asshole.
you know that's that guy.
Did I not send you, Dave, his personal cell number so that you could call in and say we're doing like this is like Dateline NBC. We're doing an expose on bad landlords in the United States.
Let me just.
You could do it live and just call him now. He's up. Yeah, 1 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely would talk to us. But you know what? He'd be like my dad. He'd be a phony. He'd be like, Chris is a good guy.
No, Chris is a great guy. Yeah. He'd change his tune 100%.
He would know that we've been playing his voicemail messages for the last 5 years. You know. All right, here we go. Let me play this thing. Unfortunately, when I bring the phone too close to the microphone, it gets a little feedback. But let's see how it plays. Hold on.
I get a music.
I gotta put it on speaker. Hold on. Let me see if this works. All right, hold on. Okay, let's try this.
Chris, Phil, I hope you had a good holiday. I didn't because I got to listen to this fucking asshole downstairs. Pardon my language, but the man is pissing me off. He just squealed out of here doing about 80 miles an hour. There's little kids here. I hope you considered what I asked you the last time. I'm as serious as a heart attack. This fucking guy gotta go.
Hold on. I don't think hold on. I know. I think my phone paused. Hold on.
There's little kids here. I hope you considered what I asked you the last time. Because I'm as serious as a heart attack. This fucking guy gotta go. Plain and fucking simple. And there ain't nobody in this neighborhood that would disagree with me. No one. Meanwhile, I've got a 3-year-old running around upstairs. Who rents to these people? I'm 67 years old, Chris. 9:30, it sounds like romper room, and I got asshole downstairs. I mean, seriously, I don't want to keep calling you about this dumb shit. But I mean, god damn, this is ridiculous over here. And he's still here, and he's still raising hell. So don't let him blow smoke up your ass. He's no better than he was. 6 o'clock this morning and the music's blasting. He's supposed to be out of here for the windows. I mean, no shit. He probably gave him some sob story like he gives everybody else. I'm not going to go off because I've had it. And I please wish you'd do something about this. Seriously, this ain't about fixing the place or anything. We can always get to that at a later date. You come over and spend a day in this house. See how you feel. Hey, you have a good day. I'm sorry, but this is the way it is.
What's your analysis, Dave?
I love it. I think it's great.
I think you love the part when he said, "This isn't about fixing anything."
Yeah, we'll get to that later. That's another voicemail message I'm going to leave you tomorrow. Yeah, you need a new refrigerator. You might need a new couch. I think you keep him because you find him so amusing.
He's
how could you get rid of this guy? You almost did at one point. I remember.
Yeah. Well, because it's just...
It's going to get to the point where he's going to be like, come on, wait, you got to charge a 70-year-old rent? Are you kidding me? You cheap bastard? You got 400 buildings you own? You going to charge me rent? How long have I been with you? Don't I get a couple free months every once in a while? Yeah, he's going to be hitting you with that. You'll give in. You'll be like, all right, fucking fine. You don't have to pay me rent for 6 months.
Yeah, he was the one who...
He'll be living in your house pretty soon.
Oh, God.
He'll be like, come on, Chris, I hear you got a huge house. You can't give me a fucking little bathroom closet or something like that they live in? I got no money left. I'm 80 years old. Yeah. I've been with you for 40 years already.
I think you should call him up sometime and do an expose. This is, you can disguise your voice and say you're calling from Dateline NBC. And
you should send him to go collect rent for you. Are you kidding me? He'd fucking get the rent from everyone. Give him a job. Say you want to work your rent off? Here you go. You go collect all my rents for me.
I'd never hear the end of it.
He'd love it. Are you kidding me? He'd be like, Chris is the greatest guy of all time. Give me the fucking rent. He'll be threatening people, pulling guns on people.
I'm evicting the guy below him, so I will play for you the all praise to Chris message when that happens.
Yeah. Oh, you are gonna evict. So he's not lying then about the guy.
No, the guy below him. I feel bad for him because the guy below him is a pain in the ass. He's disruptive. Loud, plays the whole 9 yards.
Oh, so he's not kidding. And the guy upstairs like romper room here. What the 9:30, Chris?
Sorry, I discriminate. No renting to you have can't rent to the Acetos because they have 4 kids, or the Palumbos because they have 3 kids.
That was a line my father would give you. Romper room.
Yeah,
Chris, come on! It's 9:30. I'm 67 years old. I got kids running around upstairs.
Right?
What are you holding a nursery up here? Come on. I don't know how you do it, Chris. I don't know how you do it. So, I love the article. I don't love it, but the article you sent me about only the Italians can get away with this. The Italians were trying to ban the African runners from running their Trieste half marathon. How funny is that? We were just talking about the Djibouti runners there from Africa winning all the shows, all the races. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I have Djibouti tenants. You don't hear them calling and complaining. I'm dead serious. They speak French. I have to speak to my wife.
The Italians are trying to keep the African athletes from competing in the half marathon.
We were talking about how good the marathoners are.
Yeah.
Last week on this show from Africa, and now this week the Italians say no runners to the marathon from Africa.
And you know what their excuse is? The African athletes are being exploited, so we won't let them do their run. We won't let them race over here in Italy. We don't want to exploit them anymore. Well, how are they being exploited? They're winning all the money. They're exploiting you, if anything. They're exploiting the Italians. The Italians are notoriously, racist. Anyway, go talk to some of my relatives. My father was the raging liberal. He was. Because my father just believed that everyone, that's probably why I'm like the same way as him. I believe everyone's equal.
Oh, what a radical idea! Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly what a radical idea. But that's we live in a racist society. That.
Well, wasn't it Howard Stern? Everyone moved out of the neighborhood. All the white people moved out when the blacks moved in, and
his parents wouldn't leave, right? Because they didn't.
Yeah, they wouldn't leave. They said, "We're not. Of course, we're not. There's no way we're leaving.
We're not racist." I think it's just how do you defend that policy? Oh, by the way, if you're from Africa, you can't do the race. It's pretty fucked up. I don't even understand. People are crazy because people will try to people will actually I would be afraid if I was the race organizer to actually go out there and try to defend my policy. Wouldn't you? I'd almost go into hiding if they actually called me out on it. Well,
that's why they can defend it because they just push the nonsensical line that
right.
It's like they just aggressively defend and make believe that they're not tired of African athletes winning the marathon. They're just tired of those African athletes who win the marathon being exploited.
They just don't want them winning their race. No, so this is when they finally got called out. This is what they say. Quote, I recognize that we should have raised the problem in different times and ways, and that's what we are. That's why I'm sorry for the reactions that this choice has raised, which means they're not really sorry.
Yeah. Let me translate. We got so much damn backlash from people that we have to, backpedal on what we said.
Yeah, exactly. So we got the racist Italians. What else do I want to talk about? After your tenant, it's all downhill. That was like the creme de la creme. I guess we should end the show with a with a quote of the week. I have a quote. Overwhelmed is about you not being up to speed with what you told the universe that you want. The universe is always yielding to you. You're just not ready to receive it right now.
Oh, that's killer.
Isn't that great?
Overwhelmed? Overwhelmed?
Yeah. So in other words, when you're overwhelmed, you're basically you basically told the universe you want too much stuff, and it gave you everything you wanted, and now you can't handle it, so you feel overwhelmed.
Listen, whenever I never feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know what? I talk to myself. You know what? If I had a camera in my office, the amount of talking that I do to myself to make myself laugh. When the shit hits the fan and I'm overwhelmed,
you laugh at it, right? You're like, I can't.
Yeah, you know, I say, this is the life I chose.
Yeah.
And I say, I chose this.
Yeah,
so,
you chose it. Exactly. That's exactly
I got someone calling from an Airbnb last night. The roof was leaking. It's a brand new roof.
Mm-hmm.
You can read the review online. It was like the first bad review. It's like, our roof leaked. And like, well, I came back and said,
roofs leak as long as you fix it, right? Roofs leak sometimes,
Yeah. It's, roofs leak and.
I really don't know how you handle all the stress of owning all those buildings and stuff like that.
It's the life I chose.
Yeah, you must like it.
No, I mean it's your
People say, how do you clean all that? How do you clean up all that fucking snake shit that the snakes poop? I like it. It doesn't bother me.
How do you do it with 2 kids running around?
Yeah,
you can call. You can keep. It can never end. How do you do it with 2 kids running around and you only have your the only person you have is your wife and your wife's mother? That's it. How do you do it with 2 snakes running around, the protein on back order, 2 kids running around, only your wife's mother around, no one else, neighbors complaining.
People ask me, how do you even have snakes with all the bodybuilding stuff you do?
Speaking of stuff, did you finish the pool?
It's a long story. It'll be a great pool.
Because there was no announcement, I knew it was a red flag. That's why I asked.
Well, they wanted me to sign, these morons who own the pool company wanted me to sign a something saying that when they put the finish down on the inside of the pool, the plaster, it makes it look the way it does. Yeah. That I am allowing them to make up to a 1/2 inch aberration. So in other words, I'm having on the steps, I have like a line of tile so that you don't miss the steps. You can actually see where the steps are, And I have a line of tile in my sun shelf, and I have a line of tile there's a place where you step out in the deep end. It's just like a line. And so when they put the plaster, they have to meet this line of tile so that it's all even, right? And they wanted me to sign something saying that they can make up to a 1/2 inch variation. And I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? A 1/2 inch, I'll you could trip over a 1/2 inch.
Of course.
He's like, well, they said it'll probably be perfect, but that's just our policy. I said, well, that's not my policy. My policy.
Yeah, news to me.
So I called up a couple other pool companies and plaster companies did, and they're like, no, we do. It's an 1/8 of an inch. That's and you don't even see an 1/8. You won't even notice it. There's never an aberration, but we say an 1/8 of an inch.
If it was a 1/2, it would drive you nuts for the rest of your life.
So I told that to my pool company. I said, I'm not signing this aberration. I said, this is the 3rd or 4th thing that I've argued with them about. They do good work. They're not that smart. So now they're like, well, fine. If you don't want to use our plaster guys, then we'll just pay to have another plaster. Like they're telling me they're trying to make it look like they're losing money on my pool. They're not losing money on my pool. My pool costs $90,000.
Well, that's okay. People do that all the time. I'm losing money. I say, well, that's fine. Sometimes you make money. Sometimes you lose money. You don't always make money on a job.
Yeah, it's ironic that every person who's done any work in my house since I've been here in Florida has lost money on every job. So my bathroom, the marble tile, the building I built, for my species nutrition offices.
Money. That's your fault if you're losing money.
We must be getting great deals. It's costing an awful lot of money for all these people losing money, but we're getting a great deal, I guess, on it. So the pool guy's losing money too, and so he's going to have to pay another. So I got this. We subcontracted another company to do it that's very well known here, and we talked to the woman on the phone. She owns the company. She's like, no, it's ridiculous that they wanted you to sign that. No one in their right mind would sign that. I'm like, thank you. At least I know that we're not being difficult. Sometimes you just have to think, well, maybe it's us. Maybe we're being too difficult about this whole thing.
Well, when it's your money, you have the right to be difficult.
Right, but sometimes I start to say, well, if this guy is complaining about everything that we're doing on the, maybe we're being difficult. So then I start asking other people, and then when other people tell you you're completely in the right, you know, I know a lot of pool. I know a guy who does pools in New York. I know another pool guy out here who I became friends with. So I have other people to check with. I'm not like just going on, like, to me it's just logical, but you know, maybe I don't know the pool business, so I ask pool people, and when pool people tell me, no, that's crazy, you know. Of course, once you start doing a pool, everyone comes out and says, oh, you should have hired us, or we know a guy. I'm like, yeah, how come no one was telling me that when I was asking questions beforehand? But once again, I have nothing bad to say about the quality of the workmanship that's being done outside. It's very good. But just the people who own the pool company are just not. They don't know how to deal with the public. Obviously, silly policies. So it should be done. I think this week or next week. I think they're going to lay the shell down, and then once they put that plaster inside, then they have to fill it with water. So then the fun starts. I guess, you know. Then we have to. I think you have to wait like 3 weeks or something like that, and then you can start swimming in it. But it's been hot here. I mean, I could have used the pool if it was filled up for sure. It's been like almost 90 degrees.
The alligators out back.
Well, we have a pool cage, luckily, so the alligators hopefully won't be able to get in. Although I have these, I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram, I have these, what are they called? Peacocks that seem to be loving our backyard for some reason. I have no idea. Actually, in my backyard the other day, I noticed this huge pile of poops that had all kinds of seeds in it, and I was trying to figure out what animal it could be, because at night, who knows what's walking through my backyard. I don't know. It can't be an alligator, because alligators they don't eat seeds. It can't be all the rodents around here, like the possums. They lay those little, like, you know, rabbit pellet poops. So that can't be them, because it didn't look like that. And cats and you know, any kind of like wild cat, like the cougars and panthers around here that are supposedly around here that I haven't seen yet, luckily. Or the coyotes, they're meat eaters, so they're not going to have seeds in their poop. So I don't know. I'm trying to identify the excrement, you know, waste. I might have to call Brian Dobson up to see what the wild boar, what kind of poops they have. I think they have little pellet poops too, but it could be there.
Maybe you can send it off to WADA. Yeah,
I can have the World Anti-Doping Agency identify the excrement that's on my back lanai. I think I'm going to set up some security cameras out there just to see what walks through the backyard at night. You know?
Oh, you'll be freaked out. All the stuff
that's great. Out. Yeah, as long as I'm not back. Sometimes I'm walking back from the other building at night, and the raccoons are so smart here. I think I'm smart. I have these.
They drive.
Yeah, they drive cars. Yeah. No, I have these. I have these garbage cans. They're really big pails, and I never see the top open. They open the top up and they go in.
They got that thumb that moves around.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. They go into the garbage pail, they eat the fucking garbage, and then they climb out of it. They don't even knock the pail over. You would never even know.
Didn't you see Over the Hedge? Didn't your kids see that? You'll love it. Rent it.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, they'll love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, you see all the raccoons get into the food that way. No, but seriously, the raccoons, they get that, what's that, ambidextrous multi-joint thumb that can...
Opposable thumb?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. See, I learned. Even Dave Palumbo can learn something during the day.
So they can get in and out of things easy.
Yeah, they're definitely there.
And they love to eat. They're notorious for carrying rabies too.
Yeah, well, now I carry my son's plastic baseball bat. My wife's like, "What are you going to do with the plastic baseball bat?" I said, "Like, believe me, I could fend off the. I'm not looking to kill anything." I said, "I'm just looking to get it away from me. If God forbid something jumps out of a bush or something like that, you know." I know plenty of people that would be carrying their freaking rifle with them, but you know, I'm not. I don't really want to shoot anything. I just want it to get away from me. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to kill anything. Probably the only thing. I don't know if I would kill anything. I mean, if something was attacking my kids, I'd kill. But most animals just want to get away from you. They don't want to attack you. You know, they're more scared than anything else. So I would go. You know what I would do? I know exactly. I would turn into the Incredible Hulk. You know that, right?
Yeah, your favorite.
I would roar. I'd roar like what else would you do? I mean, I'd scream. That's my my natural instinct.
Shoot. Carry a handgun.
I'd be like, roar. I would give the Hulk smash, Hulk crash. I'd pull the Lou Ferrigno on him. Hopefully that would scare him away. I think I could roar louder than any animal out there. That's for sure. I would think that the sound of my bellowing voice would scare the animals away. But you never know.
You could put a scarecrow out there.
Scarecrow. There are, you know, I hate to say it, I wouldn't want to mess with that the peacocks in my backyard. They're fucking huge. When I look at those peacocks, I'm saying to myself, can you imagine? Actually, there's another bird called the castleberry. Have you heard of that bird? It's from Australia.
Yeah, yes.
I think we might have talked about that, but the castleberries, you know, there's one of them. There was I guess guy breeding them around here, and it killed the guy. They found
I saw that. Was that around your house?
Yeah, it was around in Florida. Yeah, some guy was breeding them.
In the last 10 days.
I don't know what you would possibly breed these things for. They're nasty as hell birds. They don't like people.
Yeah, to attack them.
I'm thinking, if this castleberry is that dangerous that it actually killed a person, can you imagine what the weakest dinosaur must have been like? Imagine the smallest dinosaur.
You love the dinosaurs. You're just waiting to like.
I would try to clone one in 3 seconds if I can do it. But can you imagine the biggest like pussy dinosaur that there is out there? That thing would probably be the scariest thing to a human nowadays if that thing was roaming around.
Of course.
Like a predator, like a carnivore dinosaur that was just like on the loose. That was like maybe the size of like, you know, your
a
dog or something like that. Yeah, you'd be like running like you'd be
of
petrified of those things. People would be talking about guns. You'd have to be shooting those things left and right. So we should be lucky that there's no dinosaurs left. Forget that. We'd be extinct. So that's my.
You're waiting, Dave, for the dinosaurs.
You know they're going to clone dinosaurs eventually.
Yeah,
Someone's going to come up with some ingenious way to do it. You watch. You'll see. Dave Palumbo predicted it.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to do it.
Well, I don't know. You're being challenged trying to predict what the show Ramy is going to do. So
the question is, who's more likely to make it to Olympia this year, Kai Green or Big Ramy?
85-15.
Jimmy the Greek fucking Aceto there.
Yeah, Jimmy the Greek. He was pulled off TV also for like
racist comments.
He was Italian, right?
Or I think he was Greek, wasn't he? Jimmy the Greek.
I thought he was. Okay.
I would assume he was Greek. I don't remember his real name, but
he was pulled off for racist comments. I forget.
Well, he said that we bred the black people to be better athletes, right?
Oh yeah, except quarterbacks or something like that. You know, I don't know.
No, he said that we bred the black athletes to be the black people, you know, during slave times, and that's why they were great athletes because they picked the slave owners picked the strongest, you know, male and female, you know, slaves, and then they
purchased, not picked, purchased.
Yeah, they purchased them, and then they threw them together.
Was Howard Cosell thrown off TV for also racist comments, or was that
who?
Howard Cosell.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he was. I think did he say something racist?
I think he said, "Look at the monkey run."
Oh, I don't think. Yeah.
I think when he got older, yeah.
Yeah, he probably was senile though.
Yeah. Let's see, Howard Cosell. Let me see. Howard.
I don't remember him getting. He might have gotten in trouble, but I think you don't know. Maybe you're right.
Let me see. Yep. Howard Cosell. Oh no, you know what? Here it comes. Howard Cosell never said, "Look at that little monkey run" about Washington Redskins wide receiver Alvin Garrett during the ABC Monday Night Football game, 1983. So
that was a fake accusation.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, Howard Cosell I don't think he was a racist. He was very tight with Muhammad Ali. They were very good friends. I don't think that Muhammad Ali would have been friends with a racist person.
No, I agree with you.
Muhammad had a very good sense of who people were and what they were about, and he said that Howard was a genuine person. You know, Jimmy the Greek Schneider, that was his last name.
Howard Cosell is to boxing as Lonnie Teeper is to bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly. Too bad Lonnie didn't get paid what Howard Cosell got paid.
I think you should have the Swami on one of your shows. He's missing in action.
Here's a good thing about Jimmy the Greek. This is good. By the way, he was Greek. Jimmy the Greek Schneider, according to his autobiography, Jimmy the Greek bet $10,000 on the 1948 presidential election between Thomas Dewey and Harry S. Truman, getting 17-1 odds for Truman to win. In a later interview, he indicated that he knew Truman was going to win because Dewey had a mustache and, quote, American women didn't trust men with a mustache. Oh, that's funny, right?
I guess what percentage of the voters were women?
I guess enough to influence
in the 40s.
election.
In the 40s, God, it sounds like a.
He invested the money in an oil drilling and coal mining company, but when those ventures failed, Snyder moved to Las Vegas in 1956 and began a weekly pro football betting line. That's how we got into the whole predicting. How funny is that?
That's for sure.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of great characters in American subculture back in the 70s and 80s. You know, he was remember he was on every sports show. They always had Jimmy the Greek on.
Yeah, and he'd give you the line, right? He'd give you the line, like who's gonna, the betting line. You know what?
When he got fired for was probably it was inappropriate, politically incorrect to say that. But it wasn't like I don't know if he was saying it in a malicious way, Who knows?
So he had good intentions, but it came out racist. Is that what you said?
Well, no, I think he said what I think a lot of people knew and believed, but it just wasn't. You don't say that on TV. It's just not. It's not right. There was no YouTube back then. He could have gotten away with it on YouTube, right?
Well, it's a different era, too. There's a lot of things you can get away with now that you couldn't before.
But, we live in a society, everyone's offended by everything now. You know that. I think it's only getting worse. It's not getting better.
Yeah. I went to the grocery store the other day, which I don't go often to. And I had paused in the middle of the aisle to look at something, to look at different pastas, look at the carbs.
Yeah. And
it dawned on me that someone was staring at me, and the lady was staring at me like, how... I made the mistake of leaving the cart in the middle of the aisle, and I should have pulled it over a little bit. But she was like, oh gosh, so offended, so I have to do the opposite and just like leave the, just make it, I just can't, that's not me. I can't respond nicely. You know what I mean? She was, when I looked her way, she was like, her face was so offended that I, had left the cart.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. That's the bottom line. Well, this coming weekend, just before we go, is the Jim Manion Pittsburgh Pro Championships. They have the men's pro physique, figure, bikini, classic physique, and of course the whole amateur event as well. And that's I've been to that show many times. It's a great show. It's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of pros there. And usually I don't know. I'm assuming this year they're gonna have the same thing. They have the crazy pro lineup of all the guest posers, the top pro bodybuilders in the world usually come in there and guest pose for Jim Manion. I wonder why they don't get Kai to do that. If he's 300 pounds, you think he'd show up to at least do the guest posing?
Yeah,
that would be nice, right? Kai, if Kai came every year and did it.
Well, he used to come every year. Remember?
Well, when he was competing, he's not competing anymore.
Yeah, true.
But they still should.
True.
They still should get him up there. I think that would be great.
People would love that. People would love that. That may juice him up enough. The crowd response to actually trigger him to want to do the Olympia.
Is Roden does he have to show up at that show? I see him on the poster.
I don't know.
I see Big Ramy, who I'm assuming probably won't be there if he just had shoulder surgery, right?
Yeah, maybe he'll show up, but he'll have to
Brandon Curry, Ruley, Winkler, Dexter, Bonac, and Roden's right in the middle of the poster, so I'm assuming he'll be there. right?
Mr. Rowe should be there.
I wonder what. Do you even know what Roden looks like?
No idea.
This should be a good one. I can't wait to see how this one pans out. I'm sure there'll be plenty of gossip from that weekend coming back, right?
There's always gossip.
All right,
You're
guys.
Like Gossip Central. Your phone is like Gossip Central.
Yeah, I you know what? I hear it. I definitely hear it. You know, sometimes I just ignore it.
You tell me, and I said, "Well, we can't talk about that on the radio."
Yeah. You always pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Be arrested, beat up, thrown in jail, banned.
Yeah. Whenever I ask Chris something about his clients, he always pretends like he doesn't know, but I know he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. He's like, I haven't talked to Roden since the Olympia. I'm like, I don't believe you. All right, that's it. We're out of time until next week. Remember, guys, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.
see you next week.